Friday night popcorn wet dreams.
Yeah.
Which is my autobiography, coincidentally.
You're still listening. This is our final transmission.
We're here. It's the Final Transmission podcast. It's Sam Russo and Jamie Carruthers talking about one horror movie a week from the dawn of time until the end of time. How are you, Jamie?
I'm pretty damn good, you know? Pretty good. How are you?
Ecstatic to the point of unhingement.
Oh, unhingement.
What's occurring? How are we doing? Give me a sit rep.
Sit rep. The situation is fine.
Convincing. You've been talking to your boss today, haven't you? So, I thought we'd get together and talk about a movie.
That's a nice idea.
From the horror genre.
From the horror genre. Well, did we watch the same movie?
For those of you not sure what that means.
Yeah, for anyone that isn't the two of us.
I may or may not have watched the wrong film this week. So I get a message from Jamie that tells me what movie we're watching, and then I inevitably need it reiterated once or twice before I actually watch the movie. And Jamie reiterated this so many times this week that when I typed it in my WhatsApp and went back, I think I counted 4 times you told me that the movie had changed and we were in fact watching this. And I still, because there's something wrong with me, watched the wrong film. So you'll be pleased to know I've now watched the correct film, and here we are.
I'm so glad that I said I have also now watched Brainscan, because otherwise we'd have turned up to the recording last night and been like, oh, fuck.
That was my only indication that I'd watched the wrong film, is when you mentioned it by name, which you never do. You normally just say, I've watched the film. So yeah, fair cop, governor. I watched the wrong film. I'm very good at podcasting, and I'm excellent at all the administration that goes with it, to the point where I watch the wrong film and get everything wrong. So sorry about that, everyone. Yeah. But it doesn't affect you, only me, my reputation, my self-esteem, and my sense of self-efficacy.
Yeah. I mean, it affects me.
It affects you big time. I apologise for the inconvenience. And if you've lost all faith in me, I'll understand if you replace me with the Iron Maiden AI chatbot.
I'm not going to do that. Not the AI chatbot.
We're just gonna refer to it as Eddie from now on, because that's what it's told me its name is.
Yeah. So,
by the way, anyone can have access to that AI chatbot if anyone wants it. You just go on the EdFest website and start talking to it via WhatsApp.
Yeah, I did it. I had a little go. In fact, I didn't get very far with it.
Why not?
I got confused.
The trick is to buy everything, and then it talks to you normally once it's made the sale.
So
it can be your mate.
I messaged it, said, can I ask questions? And it said, absolutely, Jamie, ask away. I'm here as an Iron Maiden rep to help you plan your EdFest weekend at Nebworth. Blah, 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 blah. And then I typed, will, and I just didn't get anywhere beyond that.
Nice. You exercised your will.
I did. So the movie that we're watching, or that we're talking about this week, Sam,
yeah, the two things are not necessarily mutually exclusive,
is the 1994 tech-noir horror thriller comedy teen romp Brainscan.
That's exactly how I would have described it. I was waiting for you to throw in teen romp. Brainscan from the mid-90s, fucking full-bore flop at the movie theatre, straight to those video store shelves.
Yeah.
Here it is. Edward Furlong stars alongside Frank. I'm saying Langella. What about you?
I think I maybe oscillate between Langella and Langella, but I think it's Langella, right?
Sure. You got a little bit of T. Ryder Smith thrown in there for texture.
Yeah, Amy Hargreaves from Blue Ruin and a bunch of other stuff.
And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't this movie written by the guy who wrote Seven?
Correct.
Good Lord, have mercy.
This is his first script. And
Interesting.
So there are 2 credited writers on this. There's Andrew Kevin Walker, who is the guy that wrote Seven, and Brian Owens, who is a guy that has made one very cheap horror movie with a very young Sam Rockwell.
Happy Hell Night
Yeah. So
in '91. Wow.
I don't know how much of Andrew Kevin Walker's script remains here and whether it was rewritten by this sort of schlocky schlockmeister,
Sure.
or whether they were mates and they wrote it together and some of the schlockier stuff from Brian Owens took over, or what. I don't know the answer to that question that you didn't ask me. But
No, but it begs a question that once again shows how much I know about the movie industry. If I wrote a script and a studio bought it, is that how it works? The studio buys it?
potentially,
Okay. Let's say that happened, but they weren't happy with it and they wanted to fuck with it. How much license do they have to change my script, like to bring in you to change it?
as much as they want.
Wow.
And its screenplay credits are one of the most notoriously fucky things ever.
Why is that?
Because, like, normally there are 10 versions of a script before it becomes a film.
Yeah.
And generally, those versions are written, or not generally, but like often those versions are written by different screenwriters. And they're iterating on what came before it, but not necessarily changing everything or even changing like the vibes and just cleaning stuff up. And then only one of those, potentially 2 or 3 or whatever, will be credited for it. So
Right.
if you have 10 people take a crack at a script, those full 10 people won't be credited.
So how does anyone sell anything in Hollywood? Let's say Andrew Kevin Walker wrote this and maybe the studio loved the tone and the general idea, but they kind of hated what actually happened in the movie. So they changed the whole thing. Or the other way around. They love the plot, but they hate the vibe. Like, how does anyone satisfactorily... And how much is this? How much do people pay for this shit? How much would a studio buy a script for and then completely eviscerate it and maybe never even make it?
That's tricky. In the 90s, things were going fucking insane for screenwriters.
Yeah.
There were people like, presumably after Andrew Kevin Walker wrote Seven, was probably getting $1 million a script.
Ooh,
Like Shane Black was getting big money for scripts.
I mean, it's interesting to me that whole process, and especially in the 90s, because it seems to me there was a premium on original stories.
Yeah.
And especially in a given context. You know, if something becomes cool or exciting, or there's a spark in public consumption around a certain topic, people are just paying hand over fist to have that created for them.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what seems to be happening, you know, in and around the whole idea of video games in movies. The movie industry is always trying to kind of keep up with what kids are consuming in video games and in other, you know, tangentially connected media.
Yeah, so I've just looked this up now because Andrew Kevin Walker wrote 8mm, the Nicolas Cage snuff movie.
Yeah.
And that was a couple of years after, it came out a couple of years after Seven. He was paid 1.25 million for that.
Oh, blimey.
I mean, he definitely got nowhere near that for this.
Yeah.
But yeah, crazy.
And I guess it's conceivable that a screenwriter would feel hard done by getting paid $1 million for a movie that makes $80 million or something.
Yeah, well, I think like screenwriters don't get anywhere near that now.
Should we be writing scripts, is what I'm asking.
I mean, we should anyway, right? The farmers, he's sitting there. That's money on the table that we're just leaving there.
That's very true. I mean, that could legitimately be a very, very, very average Netflix movie.
Exactly.
In no time at all.
Low-key, The Farmer is also X, right? That's kind of what that movie is.
Yeah, but we don't have to tell anyone that.
I think
We just have to sell the script.
It's true.
So Brainscan, I was convinced I'd never seen this movie, but it turns out I think I've seen bits of it somehow, somewhere along the way, because I sort of knew what was coming, what was happening, and who people were. So maybe I saw it and forgot it. I'm not entirely sure. But I'm guessing this is a Jamie fave?
I mean, it's a film that I like a bit, some.
A bit some.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit non-committal from you.
I mean, it's possible that you've seen this somewhere along the way and forgotten it. I think this movie follows a fairly set structure for any movie that's based on a moral panic. And so almost is beat for beat the same as, say, Trick or Treat, which is obviously a hair metal moral panic movie. And like to a lesser extent, Shock 'Em Dead. But I think like it absolutely just tracks those same beats.
Yeah, and quite often I just find that quite comforting. Like, I find it very predictable, but not in a way that's particularly offensive. And as long as there's something interesting happening in those core elements, as long as there's something keeping the action going, like, we discussed at length in our Trick or Treat episode, that movie does it really, really well.
Yeah.
And some other movies, less so.
Do you think that Edward Furlong, at this point in his career, was remotely capable of playing a character that wasn't John Connor?
I've read endless amounts of seriously hardcore slagging off of Edward Furlong in this movie, even from the director of the movie. It sounds to me like nobody likes his performance in this. And obviously we know from history he didn't do an enormous amount of high-profile acting after, I don't know, this.
Yeah, I mean, he was in Detroit Rock City.
Yeah, and he was great.
It's true.
I'll be honest, not to set my stall out too early here, but I don't understand the criticism at all.
I'm not criticizing. I love John Connor.
Yeah, me too.
But like, it's the same character, right? He's not. The only thing that's different is the context that he's placed in, because he lives in a massive fucking house.
Yeah, but I think the deal with Michael is so similar to John Connor before the real events of the Terminator start kicking off. He's just got an attitude. He's just kind of, I don't know, angsty and entitled and lazy and shitty.
Yeah.
And wears flannel and hoodies and all that kind of stuff. But that is kind of his realm by this point. He's probably trying to make a career out of that character. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's probably basically thinking, well, it worked once. Also, he's been hired, put through wardrobe, and directed. So it can't all be his fault.
I don't think it's his fault at all. I just think that, like, they were like, we want this character to feel like John Connor, so we'll get the John Connor guy and we'll do the John Connor things and we'll make all the money that Terminator 2 made. Because we were all there for Edward Furlong.
Yeah, it's an interesting theory. I find every second of Edward Furlong's career that I've seen, thankfully I've been spared quite a lot of that career, but I've seen enough, I've seen the hits, and I find him really, really entertaining. There's something about his look and his mannerisms that I find, maybe it's just a little bit subtle for some people and they want something a little bit more explosive or overacted. I don't know. A lot of people claim that this movie's boring for the first third and that Edward Furlong isn't acting and he's not showing any range and he's doing this and he's doing that. And I disagree. Did you read the quote from the director that John Connor had to be... John Connor. Whoops. John Flynn said that Edward Furlong had to be slapped awake in the mornings.
I have read that and I believe it. I think he was probably a shitty little entitled kid at this point.
Yeah, he's just also a teenager.
Yeah.
Like, when you're a teenager, who the fuck doesn't need slapping awake in the morning?
Yeah, but I think that, like, and this is true of a lot of child actors and also people that just have incredible success very early in their life, that they don't necessarily have the infrastructure, the moral and mental infrastructure to deal with that level of fame.
Of course.
And notoriety at that age.
Most adults don't, you know?
Exactly. Like, imagine
Yeah,
imagine if you, Sam Russo, were given literally anything that you ever wanted at the age of 11.
I'd be dead.
Exactly.
I'd be dead by 14.
Yeah.
Easily. And I would be dead, but I wouldn't be dead of anything exciting or dramatic. I would have probably just rotted to death because I'm not the kind of person who carries on working their job when they win the lottery.
Yeah.
I just fucking hang. And that's what he's doing in this movie. He's just hanging out.
Yeah.
I really think a lot of that criticism's unfair. It's tough to imagine Edward Furlong being in any way well adjusted at the point of this film being made. And I just think if you're an adult, maybe don't slap kids awake and tell them they're shit.
Well, it was a different time.
It was a different time.
I wonder if his career sort of post 1992, let's say his career post 1998, American History X, has humbled him back to some sort of normality.
Waking up with his alarm clock, for example.
Yeah. He's in a good movie called Animal Factory, like a prison movie with Willem Dafoe that I really rated.
I think I've seen that. Yeah, I see no reason to be that harshly critical of him. There seems to be something else going on there. Like, if he's pissed off that his movie tanked in the theaters, I really don't think it's Edward Furlong's fault.
No, I think Edward Furlong is doing the best he can here.
Absolutely. And in the vein of, Devon Sawyer in Idle Hands, classic, smarty pants slacker characters, I'm ranking his performance pretty highly, to be honest. For me personally, I know that means nothing to anyone other than me, but I just enjoy his portrayal of that particular archetype, so I'll take it whenever it comes up.
Yeah. How do you feel about movies that, I mean, obviously we've talked about these sort of moral panic movies before in terms of heavy metal. There are a couple of like computer game based ones. In prep for this, I also watched Albert Pyun's Arcade, which I do not recommend anybody watch unless you really want to see a very young Seth Green be terrible. It's the exact same movie, but instead of the trickster, it's like a polygon dragon.
Yeah. You're going to struggle in this genre because the tech is... Woof.
Yeah.
I mean, I love a video game movie, and I love in our Patreon pre-nog, we were talking about how those kind of two entertainment medias are sometimes kind of jostling for position or cashing in on each other. And I really find it interesting in media when it goes this way around, when you've got a movie that's sort of semi-sci-fi, but the not too distant future, thinking about aspects of a piece of entertainment technology that could have sinister implications. And while not necessarily amplifying moral panic, and not necessarily satirizing it, just exploring it for the sake of entertainment, which is what I think this film does really well. Yeah. And I as a retro gamer, someone who loves retro games and all things old school video game, I really enjoy the phenomenon of the FMV game, like the old full motion video, total garb. I was playing one last week called The Shape-Shifting Detective, where you play a detective who can shapeshift.
Weird.
And you have to unriddle this murder that's happened in like a rural bed and breakfast. And there's a group of tarot card readers passing through town who are all your suspects. And you've got a local sheriff, and you have to interview each person, then shapeshift into the people that you've just interviewed and go and see the other people in the B&B and unriddle the mystery. And obviously, because it's FMV, it's complete garbage, but it's so immersive. And it's so fun, and it feels like there's endless possibilities. So I totally understand the spark and the inspiration for a movie like this, and how the material evolves into what it does. I think it's a really fascinating little thread of video gaming to pursue. I would recommend to all of our listeners out there who are interested in horror FMV that they check out Phantasmagoria. I'm told it's a masterpiece. I've only watched clips of it being played in prep for this, but it does look excellent. And there's some really great actors who kind of crossed into FMV gaming. Like Mark Hamill was in a bunch. Guys who were great actors became voice actors and then had, big career renaissance later on. Lots of those kind of guys. There's a lot of niche games on the Laser Active that are really rare, and I would highly recommend just checking out video clips of it if you want to get in the mood to watch this movie.
I feel like Mark Hamill is like primed, especially around this time, because he was like coming off like the back of the Guyver, like the live action Guyver movie, and like Laser Blast and all of those like he couldn't really get mainstream. He was like one of the first actors that was in like a huge blockbuster that landed in a place where he couldn't really get work in mainstream massive movies, and was just like, before like Bruce Willis made 400 movies that all use the same photo of him on the cover. Mark Hamill was doing that.
Yeah. It's weird. It's almost like off the back of Star Wars, Hollywood said, nope, you're only allowed one guy to have a career after this, and it's that guy. Yeah. And they pointed at Harrison Ford for no reason, and off he popped. And everyone else was fucked and just became, real problem alcoholics and failures for a really long time for no reason, despite being great. And then everything changed.
Yeah, I think like obviously the way that we mine nostalgia now means that it doesn't matter that Harrison Ford is technically more famous than Mark Hamill.
Yeah, no, probably not.
I mean,
you won't get anyone arguing that Mark Hamill's more famous than Harrison Ford either. It's not even a
no.
you know,
But I feel
not
like
even an argument.
history has like bridged that gap between them.
Yeah, for sure. And I think maybe Hollywood was proved right in that decision. Harrison Ford did turn out to be a pretty sick actor and a pretty iconic, clutch of characters.
Yeah.
And who knows what Mark Hamill would have done? Not me. But what I really like about this movie is it was very evocative of some of those FMVs that I really enjoy, despite being shit. Like, they're absolute crap. Some of them are almost unplayable.
I remember seeing the advert for Phantasmagoria, like in magazines.
Yes.
And being like, that looks fun. Like, I had an Amiga when I was like presumably around the age when this came out.
Yeah.
And like, I couldn't play shit. I was so bad at. I remember having Frontier Elite 2 and not being able to do any. I would load it up once every 3 months and be like, yeah, I don't know what to do.
They're just impossibly hard.
I don't know what any of the buttons do. I don't know how to make
Nope.
the ship move. I just sort of sit there for a bit going, oh, I'm fucking thick as pigs, and then turn it off.
Yeah, and it's a classic failure of that particular part and time of that industry, that they were basically making games for adults and marketing them as being for children.
Yeah.
Which created, all the problems that the video game industry has had around marketing and age appropriation, etc. But that aside, this movie, I mean, if you remember, even the first Resident Evil game, I think, has FMV scene setting stuff at the beginning, just short bits of full motion video in a game. And I was never against it. I thought it kind of worked and looked kind of cool. So this movie started immediately pulling up some of those thoughts and feelings in me, and that was already quite a comfortable / exciting place to be. It's no Wing Commander, but it's it looks pretty good.
They made a movie of Wing Commander with Freddie Prinze Jr.
Isn't that terrifying?
Yeah.
That's what I mean about a really interesting interplay between film and game. There's so many terrible films made out of games and so many appalling games made out of films. I don't understand why the two don't have more
Did you ever play
reciprocity of quality.
Did you ever play that NES version of the Ghostbusters game where it's just like blocks that represent buildings and it's just like the ghost flying around? I couldn't ever figure out how to play it. I didn't know what to do.
How is anyone supposed to figure out how to play that? I mean, I've watched endless hours of modern, video game, whatever you call them, like YouTube people or whatever, figuring out how to play that game and playing it. And I'll save you the agony. It's shit. Like, it's not just that it's hard to figure out. It's a dog shit game. Because I'm told, I've learned over the years, those games are all rushed out. As soon as a movie showed any semblance of success, they just took like 4 developers in a basement and told them they had a week and then made a game. So they're obviously all trash. Some of those, like famously, some of those games are even made without the developers having even fully seen the movie.
Yeah.
Like, they might have seen, basically dailies and some marketing materials, and then had to make an entire game out of it.
What's the sort of similar to novelizations? Like, a lot of them have like very early versions of the script and therefore have very different interpretations of the material, and I think that's great. That's why novelizations
get the pass of feeling more like creative license and more like an expansion of the filmic universe or whatever. Whereas games are bought, that Ghostbusters game was bought exclusively by children and young teens, and they're just disgusted that it bears no resemblance to their favorite movie that they're absolutely obsessed with. It's a crime. It's an absolute crime.
Games of films could be good, but very often were not.
Yeah, and it's funny you don't really get it now. Do you know what I mean? Like, the industry has kind of changed. Like, we played through the Terminator 2 2D side-scroller this weekend, and on easy mode, I completed it in 45 minutes, which is, for a £65 game, not long enough, would be my opinion. But it really faithfully recreates the entire movie, all the key scenes of the movie.
Yeah.
And it has like a prequel and a post sequence almost, where you see a little bit of what Sarah Connor was doing before T2, and then you see a little bit of what John Connor's doing in the future after the events of T2.
Okay.
Which is so fucking cool. And then if you play it on moderate difficulty, it takes you a lot longer. And the cleverest part about it is that there's 2 alternate paths you can take once you've completed it once. So you can just execute Miles Dyson in his house, and it puts you on a completely different path.
Interesting.
So I think that is absolutely superb. You end up playing three different games. But again, that's a quote unquote retro movie being remade in a retro game style.
Yeah.
But we're not getting like, 28 Days Later. Oh fuck, there was a 28 Days Later game, wasn't there?
Maybe.
Can't remember.
I don't know. I remember there being on my Amiga again a Terminator 2 game that had like a MIDI version of like "You Will Be Mine" by Guns N' Roses as the like theme for it, and I don't remember any other part of the game, but I remember the bit where you're on the motorbike and you're in the LA River and the truck is behind you, and you're like,
yeah,
that's my only memory of that game. I remember that being great, but I remember if I can't remember any other part of it, then I probably couldn't get past that bit.
Well, I remember it looking great, and you might be right. Some of these games just had parts that were just fucking impossible to get past.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the game ended for a lot of people. But I remember enjoying all of those games because they had the like HUD bar at the bottom that showed you cool stuff like your Arnie face slowly chipping away to terminate. Stuff like that was absolutely awesome. And the thing about those games is the artwork always rules. Like the packaging is always amazing, and it gets you so excited to like do something with the material from the movie that you're absolutely in love with. I would have liked to have seen a Brainscan game.
Yeah, me too. It's a testament to how little there was to do at this time that we would read all of the liner notes of every single CD and record we ever buy and cassette.
Yeah.
We would read the full manual for every single fucking game we bought cover to cover.
Yep.
Because sometimes if they were cool, they were written in a style that was designed to entertain you as well as teach you how to play the game. And
exactly.
I don't think nowadays when you buy a game, you don't even get a fucking disc. You just get a box with a code in it.
Yeah, and if you buy like a Digipack CD or like a vinyl by a big band, you're not guaranteed that when you get in there's going to be anything. There might not even be an insert. It's terrifying to me. But I remember I used to rent games from Choices or TVL, and I used to go to the library where my buddy worked at the weekend. I'd photocopy the entire manual, take it home so I could keep it after I returned the game, and I would like cut the little pictures of the characters out and stick them on my wall.
Yeah.
Fucking obsessed with that shit. But yeah, that's why the scene setting of Brainscan, the cover, I didn't look at anything about it really. I just quickly glanced at the cover and you told me it was like a video game movie. I was immediately in a place that felt on the right side of cheese dick nostalgia to me. Like Eddie Furlong in a video game movie that's gonna be in some way scary to me is like Friday Night Popcorn Wet Dreams.
Yeah.
Which is my autobiography, coincidentally.
Well, should we talk about the movie in some depth, get into some spoilers? Why don't we do a quick synopsis, take a break, and then do that? Imagine I said that sentence in an order that made sense.
All of the above, all at once. Brainscan is about a young man called Michael who's fucked up his knee when his mum died because there was a car crash. And next, there is his life, where he is living in an empty house because his dad's not there. Wow, that's bad. And he accidentally gets bored of looking at his neighbor's boobs. So he talks to his friend, who is played by Jamie Galen, plays Kyle. Interesting fact, 27 at the time of filming as a 15-year-old character.
Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely outrageous. And between them, they fizz up some gossip about a video game that you have to call a phone number to buy that is so immersive it will terrorize your mind. And the game arrives. Eddie Furlong straps in and is led on a merry dance by a wily, not ghost, called Trickster.
Yeah, computer goblin. What is he?
Yeah, computer gribbly. And he has to go on a wild, murderous adventure to somehow overcome the trauma of his mum's death and win the girl, Kimberly, whose boobs he's been looking at through a video camera.
Yeah.
How's that for a synopsis?
I mean, it's certainly a list of things that happen in the movie in rough order. So
Yep, sure is.
And you're the guy that's going to teach us all how to be concise. Is that right?
I didn't say I was going to. If you want to join the Patreon and listen to the first thing I would do if I became Supreme Leader, you can do so at patreon.net/Final Transmission Brainscan.com.
Yeah.
Do that now.
Break. Yeah, break. We're breaking.
Whoa, holy shit. I guess that's why they call it Phantom Power.
All right, Sam, I'm back. Are you... Would you describe yourself as back?
Very much so.
Excellent.
Ever ready. Yes, here I am. Now, I just want to ask you one question because it's been boiling in my brain.
Okay.
I'm not going to ask you anything at all about T. Ryder Smith's Trickster right now.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you, I don't want to know what you think about T. Ryder Trickster. I just want you to... That's your rap name, T. Ryder Trickster. What would you say if I said I was replacing T. Ryder Smith with William Shatner in the role of the Trickster? You have to just say yes or no and run with it.
No.
No! Okay, well, that tells me everything I need to know. So let's get down to the nub of it. Do you like this movie?
Yeah. I do. Do you?
Yeah, I really, really do.
So we're in spoilers now, and I want to talk spoilers.
Okay.
This movie tricks you into thinking it's going to be more violent than it is.
It is so bereft of gore.
Yeah. After that initial scene, which is incredibly Edward Furlong's first foray into Brainscan, where he commits that murder, is so incredibly violent and horrible and visceral.
The music.
Yeah. Everything. I think it's fantastic. And, like, it's great because, like, you kind of don't need that level of gore throughout. But, like, it would be nice to have a bit, maybe. It just sort of tricks you into thinking it's going to be a really, really violent movie.
Yep, I couldn't agree more with every single word you're saying. I think it's really clever how they lay back on the gore. I don't think this is like a fuck up or a, oh, whoops, we forgot to make a gory movie. I think it is a very clever, like, hook for the movie. You think you're going to be, sucked repeatedly into this FMV game style first person murder fest where you're just going to progressively start murdering people that you love in more graphic ways. But you don't. They use that trick once and then get the fuck out pretty much. Like, I don't know what that music is, but it's very like fucking super intense industrial noise. I looked at the soundtrack to see if I could figure out which one it was, and I'm not entirely sure. But it's very full on. Like you said, it's almost like painful to watch. It's so engrossing and such an assault on all the senses.
Yeah.
I think it's really clever to do that and then bring in this absolute fucking japester and completely move away from that as a concept. I actually find that really fun. It keeps me off balance in a really good way. And any of the sort of action horror-based gore that happens later on is not in that vein at all. So I really enjoy the sort of pitch change.
I think, like, the clever thing about that is that, like, you know that the movie is then capable of it.
Yeah.
And so you're sort of waiting, anticipating that happening again, that level of gore coming back. And it keeps you super invested.
Level yeah, it implies, like, we could fucking go here and worse if you want, kid. It's like when a movie kills a dog, you think, oh, fucking hell, they could do anything. Like, it just sort of sets its stall out. And I don't mind that it ends up being a bit of a pulled punch in terms of how scary, quote unquote, the movie is.
Yeah.
But it shows you what it can do with just the pure sort of atmospheric horror and how it does so in a way that maybe we hadn't seen an enormous amount of up until 1994. It wasn't particularly reminiscent of anything that came before to me in terms of, video game murder movie scenes.
No. I don't think they were
quite interesting.
I think all of the video game movies that came before this were super optimistic about games. Yeah,
for sure. Especially kind of as almost like a collaborative sales tool.
Yeah.
Like, we want to keep you indoors in front of your TV. Here's all the things that you can do.
Yeah, well, there was like The Wizard, which was like the Fred Savage computer game where they literally... That was basically a 90-minute advert for the Power Glove.
Yeah, and it was sick.
Yeah. And then the other video game movies that I can think of were all basically like, hey, if you're really good at video games, the military will recruit you to save the world or whatever. There was like Cloak and Dagger and what's the really obvious
Flight
one?
of the Navigator.
Yeah. What's the one that War Games is the one I'm thinking of.
War Games, of course. Yeah.
So like,
is that Matthew Broderick?
It is Matthew Broderick. Yeah.
Yeah. So the pitch from Hollywood at that point is like, look, kids, get really good at games. But I mean, so there's elements of this that are, I'm not saying in any way in the same sort of league or even really genre. And I know it's not video games, but Videodrome sprung to mind a few times watching this. Did you find any sort of like connective tissue between those movies?
I think so, because again, we're in spoilers now. So if you don't want the movie spoiled, then don't listen to this bit. But like, Videodrome has that sort of like unreality that you enter when you're in Videodrome, and like, it doesn't the line between reality and Videodrome is mixed and blurry and muggy and gone. And so I do see some connective tissue there. I also thought of like, have you seen The Game, the David Fincher movie with Michael Douglas?
Yeah,
and like,
years ago.
I don't want to spoil that, but that has some similarities here as well.
Yeah, it's the whole idea of strapping in to experience something, but not really knowing what's real and what isn't.
Yeah.
That's very fun, creative territory to me. And I think fairly unique of this time period, exploring it from the mid to late 80s right through to the mid 90s. And obviously we have that now with VR and AI and everything else, all these sort of tech innovations sparking really interesting flashpoints in horror. It's really great fun to me. And I think Brainscan, if it falls flat anywhere for viewers wanting something really gory, something explosive, something funny, it's that it does all of that stuff to a pretty competent level, but it doesn't necessarily like smash any of that out the park. There's very good gory moments, there's excellent little plot points, there's some really good acting, some great comedy, but the whole way through you're still in this kind of like, lightly lapping waves in terms of how the entertainment kind of goes, in my opinion. I mean, what do you think? Does this knock you around the ring a little bit more, or is it fairly steady?
I think it's fairly steady, but I think that like this movie, like Brainscan, has a real potential to be a terrible movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It could fall flat almost every like minute to minute.
Yeah, like I feel like this director, what's his name, John
Flynn.
John Flynn. Yeah, this director John Flynn has done some good movies, but not any great movies. This looks fucking great. I think it looks super lush, and like the choice to have no footage of games is genius.
Yeah,
because you instantly halve your production value. See again Albert Pyun's Arcade, like awful, genuinely fucking terrible, and like even like The Lawnmower Man, which is I think technically a great movie, but like all of those like video games effects just like ruin it.
Yeah, I mean that shit is like Star Fox level bad, and like Star Fox is great, but Star Fox isn't trying to be a movie.
Yeah, think about all those.
Terrible.
Think about all those times where you were in the playground at school, and they were everyone was telling you that there was this special code so you could see Lara Croft's boobs. She'd play the game naked. It's like then that sounded really exciting and enticing. I look at what Lara Croft looked like in the first Tomb Raider. But
Jamie, at that age,
it'd be way more erotic just to draw a picture of some boobs.
Which I did endlessly. I mean, I was fucking tree stumps at that age. Do you know what I mean? Like, even triangle computer boobs was, mind blowing to me. I remember someone telling me once that if you lock the butler in the walk-in fridge for like 20 seconds and then let him out and then knock him off this ledge, like you had to do all these things to the butler, and then Lara Croft's top would fall off, and I was like, what am I doing wrong? I've been doing this for hours. Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for the whole tying together of a video game and a movie in a way that's ultimately satisfactory. And I think it's really hard, and I think despite all these movies having done it pretty terribly, Brainscan inches closer. Like it just feels
Yeah.
a little bit more like Edward Furlong feels to me like a very, very real teenager in this movie to me. And we can talk endlessly about whether that's Edward Furlong doing a good job or a terrible job. I don't know, but he comes across to me as like a genuinely bored, hurt, jaded teenage gamer, and that's all I need to believe everything that happens in this movie. Essentially, I love that the stall is set out very early by Trickster saying it doesn't have to make sense. I think that's a great don't fucking hold on too hard to any semblance of logic in this movie, because we're not gonna dwell on that too much. And I think you just kind of have to strap in and ride this one to the finish line.
Yeah, I think like it's funny that the reality of this movie is him sitting in front of floating orbs, like, and terrible polygon graphics.
Yeah.
And like when you sit and think about what's actually happening, because again, spoilers, the end of the movie is that the movie didn't happen and it was all part of the game. And
yeah, we got to talk a little bit about that.
I think that's a great ending, and it's one of those good it was all a dream endings that you can, if you play it right, you can get away with it.
Absolutely.
And I like that, like in the game, Kimberly, the neighbor with the boobs, like falls in love with him and he gets everything that he wants, and then in reality he goes up to her and he's like asks her out, but like that didn't really happen. So she's like, well, no. Yeah. I mean, she does kiss him anyway, which I don't understand, but like
he certainly doesn't take no for an answer. Again, it was a different time. He gets a maybe.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. The it was all a dream ending. I don't mind it at all in this film, because I can't really imagine a satisfactory ending if it's not.
Yeah.
And I really don't want his best mate to be dead. I thought that was devastating.
Yeah.
They're sort of portrayed as being so close, so reliant on each other, and then maybe halfway through he kills his best friend. That's incredibly dark.
Yeah.
And undoing that is really satisfactory, because we get to see them reunited, and we get to see him having a second chance at being less of an indoorsy, jaded nerd.
Yeah, I think I don't understand how the game works in the game, because like
nope,
he has
doesn't make any sense.
He has agency in that first kill.
Yeah,
he does that, and then when he goes back into Brainscan and kills his mate, we don't see that happen. I don't know if they shot that and didn't include it or what, but like,
yeah, it's weird.
He doesn't remember it happening until he finds his little necklace in the fridge, which is a weird place to put the necklace, but like,
super weird.
Whatever. Trickster says it doesn't have to make sense, so it doesn't, but like...
Exactly, but it is worth pointing out that it really doesn't.
Yeah.
Obviously calling him Trickster does us the service of completely exonerating him from any kind of linear strategy here, because the game, if he wants him to kill people in the game, why reveal to him that it's a game? Like, why not have him, I thought for a second there was going to be some kind of logic to who he was killing. Like, who is that first guy?
Just a guy.
Just a rich guy.
Yeah.
Fine. A big, like, Loki vibes. Very mischievous, chaotic, kill anyone. So there's obviously some sort of, like, thrill of manipulation happening. We get, all these whispered instructions and these setups of jeopardy. But then we find out that apparently Trickster is Michael, which again doesn't make any sense. So tough to follow the logic. You kind of just have to buy in on the visuals and the potential chaos of the next game of Brainscan or whatever.
Yeah, you have to buy in whatever's happening minute to minute. You can't.
Yeah.
It's not really a cohesive narrative.
No, but it's the right kind of chaos for me.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like... There's no point in this movie where you're going, oh, hold on, what the fuck? You're just kind of lapping up the visuals, enjoying the angst, and I think genuinely wondering where the fuck is this going? How could this possibly resolve? It felt short to me. Hour and 36. I thought it was going to keep clipping. It didn't feel laboured at all. I really enjoyed the whole first half. I wasn't totally sold on the trickster character because it's not the kind of character that I normally like.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I thought, like, oh, here comes this guy. And then he turned out to be all right. I think it's interesting that they picked an aesthetic that's somewhere between Neelix and, you know, Robert Davey, or like some kind of like...
I mean, I think he looks exactly like Sammy Kerr in Trick or Treat.
Yeah.
And like
absolutely.
it's kind of the same character.
Yeah, same like strange facial composition in the sort of aged, semi-scarred, but trying to be good looking. I don't really understand the look of these particular characters or why this was in any way appealing. I think I really don't like this kind of character. I do think you should also either be scary or... No, I don't think that's true. I was going to say you should either be scary or funny in a movie like this, and I think aiming for both is noble, but when does it ever land, you know?
I think were they going for a Freddy Krueger type tone? I thought there was quite a lot of Nightmare on Elm Street stuff that was sort of sprinkled throughout this. Like
there's a lot of references, yeah, for sure. Kyle's wearing a Nightmare on Elm Street t-shirt at one point.
Yeah, I feel like the score is like ripped off wholesale from at least the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
Bits of like Dream Warriors vibes in there as well.
Yeah, with like, I mean, it has a pretty good soundtrack generally. Apart from that fucking Primus song.
I love that moment. I think Primus is best served in a crazy shitty movie.
Yeah.
There's White Zombie. There's Alcohol Funny Car.
Yeah. I guess there's a bunch of like Ministry. Is there Ministry in there?
There isn't, but there's Pitch Shifter, which I found interesting. You know, they're an English band. Are they Sheffield? You get Tad in this movie. You got some J Mascis popping off there. You get Mudhoney. You get Wade. You get some good bands.
Yeah, I think it's a decent soundtrack.
Yeah, and it's not overdone. There's a Butthole Surfers song. It's not like some music movies end up feeling a bit like musicals, and it leans way too much into what's being played rather than what's actually happening in the movie. It just feels appropriate for the time.
Yeah.
You know, that's a very mid-90s soundtrack, and everything's really well placed.
So the soundtrack I thought felt good and of its time. A thing that bugged me a little bit was how much production value they tried to wring out of all of the posters and the clothes. It made me feel like I was watching a piece of modern media that was like a period piece, and they were really trying to nail down the fact that it was 1993.
I know what you mean. Stuff like, I mean, for want of a better reference, Stranger Things, stuff like that seems to really almost try and force feed you the authenticity of the 80s basement or whatever it is, you know. I think they do it really well. I actually love it when it happens the way it does in this movie during this period, more from a nostalgia point of view than anything else. But I love representations of very specific personalities in bedrooms in movies, especially among teenage protagonists and characters of importance in a movie that happen to be teenagers. If you want me to stop dancing around it, I'm obsessed with teenage bedrooms. I just think it's such a really fun and unique part of cinema of this time period that lots of production designers were really faithfully recreating these bedrooms, but just maximizing how cool they were.
Yeah.
Like all of these bedrooms that you see, you envy, don't you? In the 90s, you think, oh fucking, I wish my bedroom was like that. It's almost like aspirational. It's almost like how adults look at like posh catalogs nowadays, I bet.
Yeah, I think because like we spent so much time watching media about people our age, which were we like really one of the first few generations to do that? I feel like our parents were watching people much older than them, or not even watching TV really.
Yeah, for sure. We were having TV made for us specifically that didn't have the same kind of censorship as previous generations.
Yeah. So like we
could be represented more accurately.
We spent a lot of time in like aspirational bedrooms, a lot of time in bedrooms of people whose lives we would never experience.
Yeah, and we're one of the first like handful of generations to really have bedrooms.
Yeah,
to be able to decorate them, you know, to have some kind of money to invest in making our bedrooms look the way we wanted them, not the way our parents decided they should look.
Yeah.
You know, and a whole different idea of what our nascent teenage identities were and how to represent that outwardly.
Yeah.
So
Mine was
when I see that,
my bedroom was floor to ceiling, like pictures I'd cut out from Kerrang.
same, yeah, just posters, pictures. I mean, I still remember really fondly a lot of my poster choices. I can remember exactly where they were, what they looked like, what they made me feel like. All kinds of cool shit like that. That's why those centerfold posters in music magazines were so important, because they were double-sided.
Yeah.
And none of that was an accident. They knew that if on one side you had pitch shifter, on the other side you probably needed Wheatus or something, like, so people could just pick a lane, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the bedroom in this is absolutely quintessential of that style, that whole production set design choice to lend authenticity and coolness to a character. Like, I really think Edward Furlong comes off as quite cool in this.
Yeah, and I think that, like, the way that it juxtaposes, like, his intense bedroom with the rest of the house, and, like, the outside of the house, where it's, like, basically the fucking Home Alone mansion.
Yeah.
Like, you instantly know who this character is as a result of that. You know that he is, like... He doesn't really, apart from, you know, his mum dying, he doesn't really have anything negative going on in his life.
Yeah, there's a really interesting choice made there, I think, because his mum dies, and he's in this sort of lethargic, sort of nihilistic teenage phase where he's got everything he needs. He's kind of surrounded by all the stuff he likes. He's managed to kind of curate his existence to be cool as fuck.
Yeah, he's got a fucking AI butler that...
He's got a robo butler, yeah. But that lends an element of pathos almost, especially if you're a teenager. You know, imagine watching this as a teenager, and I think you'd really understand that level of angst and that sort of almost sort of like growth paralysis in a way. But you also get these really cool and clever and empathetic flourishes of writing about him, you know, running the horror club at school, and his friend, you know, starting a petition to get it back going. You know, all that stuff lends real believable sprinkles of a life beyond the plot of the movie, that, you know, the direct sequence of action. And I think that's something that sort of sets this movie apart from some you know, more two-dimensional representations. But yeah, his room is fucking cool, man. I looked at a bunch of stills, and he's obviously in the attic, so there's like a stained glass window, and then he's got his like bubble chamber. He's got amazing speakers, loads of old, you know, retro tech and stuff. It's a room you'd never want to leave as a teenage boy.
Yeah. And
great view of the neighbor's boobs.
It's so weird how, I mean, we've talked about this before, but like how perving on your neighbor was so widely accepted as a, not just like an okay thing to do, but like, this is our hero doing it. This is our lead guy.
We're supposed to like him. Yeah, I mean, do you know what? I'll say something that might not, it's an opinion you might not share, but I think at this time of making these movies, people were just being more honest about voyeurism. You know, teenage boys were looking out their windows for boobs, not just at boobs. They were looking for them.
Yeah.
They were looking in other people's windows. They were, you know, not just idly staring out of the top deck of the bus window. They were constantly on boob hunt, boob watch. And I think...
Yeah, we used to call it chicken spect, I think.
Chicken spect. Yeah, sure. I think it's, you know, a lot of people
because of that
would consider this poor form.
Because of that attitude and calling it chicken spect. Like, that was the only boobs we were seeing.
Yeah. And same with this character. You know, Edward Furlong is a lonely, reclusive video game nerd who's played every game on planet Earth to the point where he's burnt his brains out of his ear holes and is now murdering people for kicks. Of course he's looking out the window at his neighbour's Tetons. It's the way it goes.
Yeah, I think that Edward Furlong is great in this role. I think he's not acting, but he's really good at being natural in front of the camera. Like I don't think he's doing anything even remotely different to what he's doing in Terminator 2. And that's completely fine. I think the context does enough to differentiate him. But like, he's great. And I don't think this character is as cool as John Connor. I think John Connor is just sort of much cooler. But I think because he's naughtier.
Yeah. Yeah, and John Connor's far more animated.
Yeah.
And the stakes are much, much higher for John Connor in that movie. It's almost a redundant comparison. Like, John Connor's the leader of the resistance against, an AI robot-led apocalypse. And this kid is just, like, jacking off over his neighbor and accidentally kills someone in a video game. Like, I think it's a pitch-perfect performance. He's surly and put upon and traumatized and has a bad knee. And he has a really good limp. I find his limp really convincing. I just think this poor fucking guy is having every performance he does after Terminator held up against it. And that's like the greatest movie of all time. Like, give the kid some slack.
Yeah. I think he's a good actor. I think he's good at being on camera. He's good at being in movies. And like, there are a million character actors out there that do the same thing. But
they don't get slagged off for it.
The problem with them is that they weren't in literally the greatest movie ever made. So
they also 9 times out of 10 aren't even in a good movie.
Yeah.
So, no one's like, oh, Clint Howard always plays the same crazy goofball. Like, yeah, he does. And he does it great. Edward Furlong maybe plays a lot of surly, later kind of teenagers, and it's because he was the best in the biz at that moment at doing that thing.
I love his relationship with his friend. I feel like
so do I.
We don't ever get to see like really good close relationships between two male characters that aren't gay, and I love that. I just thought every single time they stopped hanging out, they were like, "Love you, dude." Yeah,
best buds forever.
Yeah,
exactly. And I love that they're phoning each other in that very 90s way. And, Kyle's laying on his bed reading Fangoria. It just feels really real because I think the performances are good and it's surrounded by that set dress. Like in the Fangoria scene where he's talking to him on the phone, there's like a Jackson or an Ibanez or something on the bed with a fucking massive great whammy bar. Like everything's placed really well to make you believe in the authenticity of what's happening, because I think if you just had Michael's character, or maybe Michael and Kyle are both trendy kids who accidentally get sucked into a video game or whatever, it just doesn't work as well.
No.
So you need the audience to understand what these kids' lives are in order to understand why they're doing what they're doing in the first place. It's a misfit movie. It's a movie for misfits by misfits, and it works.
Yeah, I wonder if this movie doesn't play for the straight kids, for like the normie kids.
Almost definitely not, and I think that's probably a large part of why it flopped in theaters. I'm not saying it would have been a box office smash, but it's not. There's nothing wrong with it really, especially compared to movies that did well in the cinemas. I think the protagonist is not relatable enough to a broad audience for you to want to spend all that time with them in the first 25 minutes. And that's a lot of the criticism I've read about this, even from horror fans, is that it's quote unquote boring. The first third is boring, and it's not for me. It's really well crafted setup for quite a silly movie, and that's rewarding.
I mean, I wonder if audiences had an issue with going on the journey with this guy or relating to this character, even if they see themselves as an outcast, which I think a lot more people see themselves as an outcast than are actually outcasts.
For sure, yeah, and for different reasons.
Yeah, but I think that the journey of being like, okay, I'm kind of jaded, I've played all the video games, I like watching horror movies, and okay, now I'm going to do the sort of first-person murder. I think that might be a little bit of a bridge too far for some people, even though the movie makes it clear that it's a game. It doesn't feel like a game. We're not watching VR graphics. We're watching
herky-jerky loading screens every 4 steps. It looks good because it's supposed to be, it's a horror movie, it's supposed to look good. I agree. I think that is a bit of a big pitch for a lot of teenagers on dates in America. It's downbeat. It starts with gory dead people in the street, and we find out this kid's mum died, and then all of a sudden we kind of have to follow him moping around for a while, which I love, but then we're forced to watch a murder through his eyes, and a good murder scene, you know, that guy isn't just like, ugh, and then dead. He's like staggering around with a knife in his back and screaming, and then he wakes up and gets his foot cut off. Yeah, that's a big ask of like an audience who maybe just wants a little bit more vanilla in their fucking latte, you know?
Yeah. I agree with me. I agree with you agreeing with me.
I agree with me.
But
Once again, I'm replaced by the Iron Maiden chatbot. Yes, Jamie, correct. Well done. Love from Best Buds Forever, Eddie.
like sort of going back to what I was saying before, like the direction in this is really good. The movie looks really good. I think that like it's written in a way that is just like, I don't know, 15-20% more interesting than what this movie should have been written at.
Yeah, and it always manages to just kind of turn. If you're getting bored, or I can understand why people would be bored in this movie, but it's probably because the things that interest me don't interest them.
Yeah.
Like as soon as Frank Langella shows up, I'm very interested for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
If those of you out there don't know, I absolutely love Masters of the Universe, and his portrayal of Skeletor is the Skeletor for me. And he's done loads of other great shit as well, obviously. He shouldn't be reduced to just Skeletor. He's a great actor. But, you know, if maybe you're not buying the whole cop investigation because it's laughably inept and he breaks every rule in the book, etc., just enjoy the fact that it's Frank.
Yeah.
You know?
Like I was like you said before, the way that this movie uses clever tricks to hint at like a wider life for the characters that we're meant to be interested in. And then also the fact that we've got Edward Furlong, we've got Frank Langella. This isn't like a person that's made a career of like one episode arcs on every single procedural crime show on American TV and
Sure.
a faceless kid from a Friday the 13th sequel. Like,
Yeah.
these are actual people that can really, if not act, then be in a movie in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, they've got genuine, like Edward Furlong has real cachet at this point.
Yeah.
And Frank Langella's no fucking lightweight at this point in his career. Everyone in this movie is pulling their weight and doing a good job. There's no really bad or standout shocking performances in this film. Everyone shows up to work and does their job, and that's what makes it a good movie. They are asking you to follow this grungy misfit character who doesn't have an enormous amount of drama or charisma in his writing. So I can see why that would be an ask, but if you're not into that level of subtlety and kind of downbeat characterization, then yeah, it probably isn't the movie for you. But when he's watching the party out the window, that's a profoundly lonely, essentially teenage moment that almost everybody can relate to, surely.
Yeah.
I don't want to know you if you didn't have if you didn't have that level of loneliness in your teenage years. So yeah, maybe its audience is more people like us than it is normal, well-adjusted, particularly American theatre-going audiences. Because if I saw this on a shelf, I'm renting it immediately.
Yeah.
Absolutely, without question. Even if it was a premium price tag purchase, I'd be all over it.
I think the line, "This isn't a game anymore. This is crimes. This is just lots of crimes," was...
Yeah, it's great. It's the funniest bit for me is when he's sitting in the principal or whatever, the teacher's office, and he asks what movie they were watching, and what's it called? It's called like Dead. Death, and he goes, Part 2. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. Excellent deadpan delivery, a great joke.
Yeah.
That whole interaction's brilliant. You know, it's obviously pretty satirical and over the top dialogue from the teacher talking about watching a pornographic sex videotape, getting an erection, and then committing a rape or whatever he says. Like, it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Really good fun. Great stuff.
It's right, though.
so,
Erections don't rape people.
People do. Yeah, another great line. I just think what it does for me is it indulges in all its little foibles and quirks at the right places and to the right level of depth. You know, if it was all just like bazoing, wow, kind of crazy, stupid humor the whole way through, I'd be dying. But the fact that it's just sprinkled and done with a little bit of menace, I think is pretty effective.
Yeah, and I think the fact that it's a moral panic movie. It's a movie based on a moral panic. What the actual message of the movie is that, like, apart from maybe he kills a headmaster at the end, but like we'll ignore that for now. But the point of the movie is like basically that like these kids are inherently good, and if they find themselves getting too deep, in most cases, they will find a way out of it.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
They will also kill
yeah.
the headmaster. Even
Sure.
if, like,
Who?
you don't think that the game will fuck him up, your mate, who you didn't kill because you killed him in the game, told you that people are having aneurysms.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Especially like a very highly strung older man. Like, does this seem like a good idea to you in it? But I love it because it's, it is obviously meant to be playful, but it does still have that edge to it that Brainscan has throughout. It's not the goriest, it's not the silliest, it's not the best, but it lands squarely in the middle of every single shot that it takes. I think that's pretty admirable.
Yeah.
And I like the sort of circularity of that, going back to school, fucking with the teacher. It reveals, again, more layers of his character. You sort of see him maybe sort of coming out the other end of things if he's willing to engage in mischief and be a little fucker. And, I like that. You start to see him coming back around. What did you think about the whole post-credit sequence with the dog?
I mean, I don't understand it because
yeah.
none of that stuff happened.
Yeah, exactly. What is happening? No, like, again, it doesn't have to make sense. But you'd love it if the post-credit sequence did. Like, what are they trying to say?
It's sort of like what they're going for is the bit at the end of Nightmare on Elm Street when Freddy sucks the mum through the window. Yeah. And like,
that's exactly what I thought of. Yeah.
But like that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Freddy
like it's a dream.
is allowed into reality and is real and does really kill people.
Yeah.
Like. Yeah, I don't get it.
It doesn't make any sense, but I still thought it was fun. Because, like, I like Trickster. Like, my last question, really, before we sort of take a final break and come back, is Trickster cool?
To you, clearly. I don't like this kind of character at all, but I think it's testament to how well it's done that it doesn't ruin the movie for me at all. I'm totally fine with almost everything Trickster does, says, and is in this movie. I don't love the aesthetic, and this, like, I'd like to see this trope done really well so that I can buy in on one day, but it's something that it always feels like a simple solution to a problem to me. Like, we need a central character of menace, but why not, hero's journey wise, like, why not wind everyone into one guy? And it just feels a bit too chaotic. It's the Joker in the deck, I get it, I just don't love it.
So I quite like him as a representation of like those kind of William Gibson-y sort of tech-noir type characters.
Sure, because of the clothes, that really leans into that.
And like in a movie that is essentially got this sort of cyberpunk tech-noir like through line through it, although it doesn't ever really feel like one of those movies. It doesn't feel like a James Cameron movie. It doesn't feel like an early Catherine Bigelow movie. It doesn't feel like it has all of that Blade Runner-y type stuff.
Yeah.
But it kind of has that tech-noir element because we're in a video game, although we never get to really see any video game footage. Like I say, the reality is him is actually just sat in front of a TV going boop, deep, boop, boop, boop.
And then waking up suddenly, yeah.
So like...
Well, but there is a lot of really good I don't know what you'd call it, I guess digital effects of like, star lines and swirls. And,
like whooshing through the vortex stuff,
all that stuff's great. And Trickster's first emergence coming out of the TV, the bit that I think is quite possibly the best moment in the whole movie, and the best thing I've seen in an old movie that I haven't seen before in a really long time, is how his entire innards like fall out of his neck and get wrapped up in clothes. That's an awesome effect. And I'll be honest with you, even at the end when it goes all PlayStation 1 graphics with them melding together and eating each other's heads and stuff, I didn't hate that. Normally that would be like, for fuck's sake moment for me. But it feels totally appropriate for the aesthetic of the movie. It's been set up the whole way through. Doesn't feel like a huge payoff. Doesn't seem, entirely real. But it absolutely is woven in perfectly with the kind of weird patchwork quilt aesthetic that this movie is putting together there. I really enjoyed those effects. I enjoyed the level of subtlety that he brought to this kind of role. It wasn't full on... What's his name? Not Sammy Hagar.
Sammy Kerr.
Yeah, it wasn't fully Sammy Kerr, but also wasn't fully Beetlejuice. It was a little bit more subtle.
I've got something to say before we take our final break, Sam.
Does that have anything to do with social media?
What more social media is there than music, Sam?
I know, right? That's all it is nowadays. If you're into music, you should check out redscare.net, Chicago's finest, fruitiest purveyors of prickly, pickled punk rock. Jamie's currently modeling his 10-year Red Scare anniversary koozie, which makes that koozie, 11 years old at this point? Pretty good.
Old, yeah.
Hasn't perished. You can purchase other similarly durable merchandise items at redscare.net. Redscare.net.
Yep, and we'll see you after the break for some final thoughts and feelings.
Will you give it up, man? Nobody's out there. We're alone. Oh no, there's somebody out there. I'm picking up all this crosstalk.
Jamie, I'm back. Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Do you see parallels between, several previous episodes on the Final Transmission podcast between this movie? I'd put it adjacent to both Trick or Treat and 976 Evil. Any others?
I think basically this is a central meeting point of every movie that was made between 1989 and 1995.
Yeah,
In
if
this
it were me,
genre.
programming a day of movies of that ilk, I'd put this pretty squarely in the middle of Sunday afternoon. And if it didn't look so great, I mean, it doesn't look, phenomenal. It's not like, it doesn't look as good as, Terminator 2, for example. But we need to stop comparing it to that. But it does look really good. If it didn't, it would feel very made-for-TV movie, wouldn't it, in a way? And I find that endearing. I think that's a good thing. It feels schlocky and B-movie, but not to the point of being poor taste. And it feels just kind of the right level of quality to be watchable on a TV screen. You're not missing anything if you don't see this at the cinema.
I watched it on
it's a
VHS.
good Sunday afternoon movie for sure.
It's just like a lucky confluence of things. Like it's shot really quite nicely. Not like Terminator 2, but like it's shot quite nicely. The acting is like the performances are quite good. The writing is sort of clever.
Yep.
They just they fluke their way. Maybe not fluke, but these quite small things all like snowball together to make a movie that's much better than it has any real right to be.
Yeah, it could, like you said, it could have been complete splatter chaos.
Yeah.
And instead, it's a fairly measured take on some interesting source material and a fun aspect of a very tropey part of a genre.
Yeah.
It's a welcome break from absolute chaos bullshit that you'd expect from a movie with this title and cover.
Yeah. My biggest complaint is his little AI butler.
Oh, why? He's great.
Like, he is great, but like he shouldn't exist.
Shut up, he's quality.
Like,
Igor is a great addition to this.
But like nobody had that.
No, but I think it's supposed to be semi-futuristic. Do you know what I mean? He's supposed to have things that other kids don't have. I wish Igor's mouth moved or his eyebrows went up and down or something. Yeah. No, every kid had that. It just wasn't diagnosed yet.
That's true. Yeah, fair. ADHD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of them. All of the things. I just think I wish Igor was a little bit more animated. Then we could really buy into him as a character, and that'd be really fun. He's like the butler in Tomb Raider.
So if you lock him in the cupboard for long enough, Edward Furlong's
shorts fall off. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I enjoy Igor. I like how obsessed he is with. Is it like Teenage Frankenstein or Young Frankenstein or there's some Frankenstein property happening a lot there, which felt a little bit to me like how older directors will just make kids be into stuff they're obviously not into, like the Three Stooges or something. Which has started to feel like a tip of the hat. Yeah. So into that. Anyway, Jamie, why don't you fucking get us home for dinner? Tell us what you really think.
I mean, I just think it's really good. I think there are a few small complaints. I think that they over rely on like the set dressing as production value to the point where it kind of annoys me a little bit. Like, okay, we get it. He likes metal. He likes horror movies. Like,
we get an Eddie cameo.
Yeah, you don't need to constantly be showing all of the shit that's around me to so you know that I'm into horror movies. Like,
yeah, I suppose it does. It is a fairly clever way to not have to give anyone much personality.
Yeah. Thanks, mate.
You know what I mean, though? Like, if you were going
no,
to sum you up without you having to do anything, you'd just
Yeah.
show all the stuff that you own.
Yeah, and I think that, like, I rate it and I like it. I just think they do it too much. I think there's an over-reliance on it.
Right.
I think that, like, the movie is just a bit confused. And I wonder if that is my assumption, based on the two writers, is that everything that's good about the writing is Andrew Kevin Walker, and everything that doesn't make sense is this other guy either doing some work on Andrew Kevin Walker's script to make it more of a goofy horror movie.
Yeah.
I have no basis for that beyond the fact that Andrew Kevin Walker can write good movies, and this other guy has written 2 movies, and they're both in this oeuvre.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's either that or it's like Brian Owens is Andrew Kevin Walker's old college roommate.
Yeah.
And they just got high and wrote a movie in one night. Do you know what I mean? It's either a precious project to one of them that the other guy was then like hired by the studio to just tick a load of boxes and shoehorn in a load of bullshit, or it's like the most ridiculous throwaway bullshit that both of them could do in a short space of time. We'll never know, I assume, but it's got to be one or the other, really, right?
Yeah, I would say so. And I think that, like, it doesn't, like we've said number of times, it doesn't matter that it doesn't really make sense, because, like, from moment to moment, the experience that you're having is generally a good one.
Yeah, definitely.
I think, like, it's just a really good, fun time, and, like, a really good example of this kind of movie. When we did The Blob recently, we talked about, like, how that was, or I talked about at least, how I think that's, like, the best example of that kind of movie. And this is like up there, not all the way up there, but it's pretty close, I think, in terms of, like, the very specific subgenre that this lives in, the moral panic movie, where they're using these fears to satirize those fears and satirize the wider world, and also make something that they just think is fucking gnarly and cool.
Yeah,
Like,
just do something entertaining in that medium.
Yeah, they just nail it. It's just great. Like, I can't imagine this movie being any better, but I can imagine a million ways that it could be a lot worse.
William Shatner?
Yeah, I think William Shatner as Igor, maybe.
That'd be sick. Anyway, why are you stalling giving this a rating?
I'm going to give it 13 out of 15 stabs to the back.
Oof. That's a lot of stabbing.
That's, yeah.
Not quite enough to get it done, but still a lot.
It depends where, right?
True. 13 to the back, yeah, that probably is enough to get it done, actually.
Yeah. I think if it's 13, it feels like a crime of passion as well, right? It's not like a calculated, like, murder. It's a crime of passion.
What are you planning for the rest of the evening then, Jamie? You got big plans?
Wouldn't you like to know? I'll be popping round with my knife.
Yep. Please do.
So, well, speaking of please do give us your summing ups.
Everything you said, plus the comfort value of a film that isn't predictable but puts you in a place where the parameters for success in the movie are totally achievable within the first 10 minutes of seeing what's going on. I feel like I'm in safe hands with this movie, and I do find it visually very attractive and interesting. I don't really know where it's going from start to finish, and I enjoy that, especially when I'm told it doesn't have to make sense.
Yeah.
I love that, just being laid out from the beginning. I'm going to give good old 1994's Brainscan 7 interactive trips to hell out of 10. I think it's very, very good within its, like, dozen movies that are in this specific genre. And apart from William Shatner, I can't imagine much changing that. So, well done, Brainscan. You're a film.
I've got one last thing that I want to say, Sam.
Better be good, Jamie.
It's going to be lucrative.
Oh, really? I'm all ears.
If you like what you hear and you want to support us, there's a number of different ways you can do that. The best way is to put your money where your ears are and go to patreon.com/final transmission and give us $5 a month. Our Patreon, you can find uncut unedited video and audio versions of episodes of the podcast, like this one and many, many others like it. If you don't want to support us over at Patreon, you don't have to. That's okay. We won't force you into the camps just yet.
Jamie's big on crimes of passion, so
Yeah.
go easy.
But what you can do is wherever you're listening to this, you can make sure that you're subscribed. You can make sure that you have automatic downloads turned on. You can rate and review and tell your friends all about it. What else can they do, Sam?
And comment on stuff. Like, if we take a break for 1 week because we've got lives, write something like, oh my God, I wondered where you'd gone. Be passive-aggressive as you want in the comments.
I don't think they were being passive-aggressive, Sam. I think they were genuinely worried that we'd stop doing the podcast because we disappeared for 3 months.
Oh, get a life. Maybe this is why no one interacts with me. Yeah, but you should, follow us, obviously, because who the fuck else are you following? Some TikTok dipshit.
Exactly.
We're also on TikTok, I think. I can't remember.
We are on TikTok.
Join us now.
Yeah. If you wanted to engage with us on social media, you can do that at the social media platform of your choice.
Yeah, make it Instagram, because then it's easy for Jamie. And
Yeah.
be cool.
And that's at FT Horror Show. You can follow Sam at his personal Instagram, at Sam Russo Music.
At youngboysbedrooms.net.
Yeah. You can follow me on Instagram at Carruthers. You can get both of those at FT Horror Show if you don't want to remember them. You can also follow me on Letterboxd at JamieFT. And that's it. That's all you need to do. That's all you need to know. Well, we'll see you next week for yet another final transmission. Say goodbye, Sam Russo.
Goodbye, Sam Russo.
Stab, 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 stab.
How many stabs?
I'm at 6.
Keep going, buddy.
Stab.
You nearly got me.
Stab, stab,
Oh,
stab,
I'm
stab,
dying.
stab.
I'm dead.
Excellent.